Hello guys, this is Ashish here. Uh, I'm director of product at InVideo, and few years back I was also sitting here preparing for my placements. And trust me, it's good to be here on the other side after taking the journey. Uh, so a bit about myself. I graduated from IIT Bombay in 2015. I was a dual degree student from chemical engineering. uh, After I moved out of IIT, uh, I really loved working on business ideas, and I actually started my own company called India Ka Dabba. It was a cloud-based kitchen based out of Pune, and uh, it was a very good, strong business that we built. And due to that, we were able to sell it to one of the organizations there, and I led to an exit there. After that, I think I essentially moved to Amaha. This was a very interesting journey and very relevant to the topic we are covering here. I started there as a digital marketing lead, and one of my KPIs was to increase the top of the funnel, essentially get as many users as possible. Uh, right at the top of the funnel so that we increase the sales in the company essentially, right? So I started there as a digital marketing lead, uh, and to increase top of the funnel, like I had an idea of creating an application because the core offering for us was connecting users to therapists, and we were not present on the mobile applications, right? So I presented that idea to my CEO, and he actually kind of accepted the idea, asked me to lead the project, and he gave me a very small team, like a team of 5 people, to be very honest, 3 developers, one designer, and one person for testing. It was like a very small experiment that we did, and uh, we made a very small MVP. We launched it out. Uh, I started doing some ASO for it so that we get more and more downloads, and we did some advertising to get some downloads over a period of time. And the app picked up. It started getting a lot of traction, and over a period of time, it became like the biggest acquisition channel for us. Uh, the best thing about it was most of the acquisition was free of cost, and it was able to fuel our top of the funnel. Over a period of time, we almost acquired 4 million users from that application, and also the application was awarded by Google Play as the best application for good in 2019. And yeah, I think that's essentially my story, how I broke into product management. A lot of you will also go through a similar journey where you will join a company as and usually that happens very early in your career, where you join a company, you're working on one project, but you seem to find some interest in other projects, and then over a period of time you might move to that vertical itself, right? So I've seen a lot of folks who I've worked with, who have started with analyst role, business analyst role, then move towards product, or even vice versa, right? I've seen people who join the product roles and over a period of time move towards more towards strategy and operations, or even move into something like a CEO's office, right? So whatever you pick right up here, I think it's really important to pick a good domain. And over a period of time, I think you can still explore. I think most of the learning that you will get as of today will be learning from experience from others. But as you join a company, you will be able to actually see the work in progress, right? How other people works, what type of work they are doing, and try to understand yourself, right? What are you good at? What are you bad at? And uh, try to pick a field also, right? uh, so yeah, that was about Ama, how I got into product management. By the time I left Ama, I was leading product for them. After that application, I also built a B2B product for them, which essentially was responsible for around 80% of the revenue that was coming for the company. So the acquisition was happening through the mobile application, and there was a B2B product which was actually essentially making the money. So that's essentially how companies try to define the product strategies and essentially work towards it. After that, I moved to InVideo. I joined the growth team there, and I was director of product. Uh, we did pretty well as a company, especially due to COVID. There was a huge spike in video editing industries. Everyone was at home, making videos on TikTok, Instagram, and that worked very well for us. As a company, we grew almost 10x there in terms of revenue as well as the number of active users. And I was instrumental in leading the growth there in terms of product. We worked on variety of product-led growth projects. We work closely with the GTM teams, essentially the marketing teams, so that we create a good, strong top of the funnel for the company. And over a period of time, I think we were able to successfully raise a couple of rounds while I was working here. Okay, let's get into the objective of the presentation today. Uh, the goal is to give you actionable steps that will help you find the right product management job, right? I'm not here to give you a lecture on what is product management, the basics of product management, or how do you do prioritization and all that, right? So my objective here is to actually help you move into a product management role, and even also like decide if this is the right step for you, right? So the topics I'll be covering is what is product management, what do you do as a product manager, how does a day look like if you're a product manager, how do you identify if product management is the right career for you, and if at all you agree that yes, this is something you want to explore, then how do you look for product management job. I'll briefly cover a bit about resume and product interviews and the books you should be reading, right? So think of this presentation more like a template in terms of the things you need to do, more like a to-do list you need to do to get a right product management job. Okay, just to understand the audience a bit better, right? How many of you are final year students? Okay, most of you. And pre-final year? Anyone else? First year, second year? Oh, interesting. So for you folks, getting into a product management internship would be much more relevant, right? So everything here will still be relevant for you guys. Just that I think instead of focusing on a job, you might look for an internship and move ahead. Okay. First thing foremost, what is product management, right? Before even going ahead and starting to apply for product management, it's really important to understand what does a product manager do. Trust me, this is like the number one mistake most of us do. uh, Even for I think IITs, everyone is like, hey, I think IIT is the best college you can go, and you start studying for JEE and you come here, right? The same is happening with product management a lot right now, as I understand. uh, a lot of folks from IITs are very much interested in that, but they get into it without understanding what it is and does it even suit your skill set, right? I think in terms of career, that's the most important thing to focus on. Like the job that you are taking should kind of suit your skill set, right? Unless you're really going to be good at it, it's a bit close to your personality. That's the only way you will do good at your job, right? Some people might be really good at sitting down and figuring out core complex problems. For them, might be something interesting role would be towards engineering, right? So it's really important to actually kind of figure out what exactly do you need. So for purpose of this exercise, I'll try to stick to only product management, but yeah, you can self evaluate yourself and try to understand if this is the right role for you. This is a very good quote from Marty Kagan. He's Silicon Valley Product Group founder. He says product manager is responsible for discovering product that is useful, usable, and feasible. Right. The way I would break this down essentially is there are two components to product management. One is essentially setting the vision for the product. The next is actually executing it, right? uh, this is like everything a product manager do will essentially fall into these two buckets. A bit about vision, right? So vision is actually the more complicated of the two, right? Uh, because it involves a lot of factors. When you work in a product company and you're trying to set vision, uh, you need to consider multiple factors. There will be inputs coming from different teams, your founder, sales team, support team, marketing team. They will be giving you feedback about how to create a product vision. You will have to do a lot of market research, follow the trends that are happening in the market, do some competitor analysis, and last and foremost, uh, be very, very close to the users. I think users will help you define a very good product vision, right? So that's a bit about vision, right? It's a bit of the complicated part. Very honestly speaking, it is usually done by product leaders in companies. Early product managers and APMs usually stick to the other part of execution, right? And this is the first thing you guys will be learning when you get a APM or a PM role in any company, right? How do you execute a particular project, right? So I think you guys might have heard about a term called MVP, right? Minimum viable product. As a product manager, it's really important to understand the product vision that is essentially given to you and break it down, right? Break it down into something that can be shipped very fast. This is a bit close to agile framework, where we don't want to build the best and the complete product in one go. We try to build pieces of it and try to prioritize every feature, uh, so that we are giving the value to the users as fast as possible, and also verifying if the business is making sense, right? So uh, this is this is a snapshot from Airbnb back in the days of uh, early 2000s, when they actually launched. Uh, a very basic website, right? If Airbnb had decided that, hey, they want to launch something with full-fledged features, users should be able to view photos, users should be able to see the ratings, they should be able to apply filters, right? It will be a lot of work for the team, and it will essentially take at least a year to build a platform like that, right? If you start building a platform like Airbnb from scratch, depending on the team size, but it does take a lot of time to start thinking from scratch. There is a design process that needs to go in, and then the whole development process, right? But what alternatively Airbnb did, they just kind of focused on building the most basic feature available. So the only thing they had on their platform was a listing. Users go there, view some photos, and go and check out and do a booking, right? And if you interestingly look at this snapshot, they were only available in San Francisco when they launched, and very small, like a test they tried to do of the business of the market, and over a period of time they expanded to all the countries. And that's how you essentially build a product. You build a very small MVP. Once you get that MVP out to the users, right, then you try to get feedback from them. Hey, what is the next most relevant thing for them, right? Is it showing pictures in HD, or is it showing them filters, or is it about showing them reviews and ratings, or is it about understanding the host, right? All of these features take time to build, and what a good product manager will essentially do, will try to prioritize the most important and the relevant feature for the users and get it out to them. So yeah, that's essentially a core product manager's role, as I will say, to work on the vision and the execution bit, right? Without execution, there's no value to vision, right? A lot of people out there say there's no value to the ideas. to a certain extent it is true, because unless you execute it well, you get into the market and you have a really good execution, you're not going to win it, right? Some good examples are, you look at Flipkart right today. It's not a new idea that came in back in 2008. It was out there in a lot of advanced markets, e-commerce website online. Just what Flipkart did well with respect to other competitors in India, they had a very good execution. They built the right product. They were out there fast, reiterating faster, and build the product over a period of time. Okay, the next part is, what does a day look like in a life of a product manager, right? The reason I'm included this part here is so that I can bust some myths essentially, and try to give you a better understanding on the areas you would be working on as a product manager. First and foremost, what does a product manager doesn't do? The first thing is, product manager never writes coding. They never code, right? This is one of the most common thing asked around. Should I be from a computer science background to get into product management? Do I need to know the code? The answer is no, you don't need to. But it's very important to understand the tech stack at least. You will never be writing code, but it's very important for you to understand how the code is written, right? Usually all of us do a C++ course. I'm not sure if you guys are still doing, but that should essentially get you started in terms of how codes are written. And over a period of time, you can even try to understand other languages and keep building some small softwares over a period of time. But it's not a must-have skill, but a really, really important, good to have skill for product managers. The next thing is, you will never be creating wireframes or designs. A good product manager knows how to get the best out of your team. You will have the designers with you, and it's really important to understand and respect others' expertise essentially, right? As a product manager, you will be working with multiple people, and it's very important to keep your opinion with yourself, but still making sure you guys are shipping the best experience to the users. And again, you will not be working with marketing, business, or PR, right? The takeaway from this is essentially that there are a lot of misconceptions. People think a product manager is a person who knows everything, bits and pieces of all the domains, and that's why they are sitting in the center. That's essentially, I'll still say that's not a good product manager who would keep working on these multiple things. The best one would be, how do you essentially drive the project in the right direction, right? So what exactly is a product manager? Product manager helps the team to ship the right product, right? They align the team towards the goal. They make sure everyone is clear with the vision. A bit of project management also comes into the picture, where you're setting the timelines. You're setting the timelines with the leaders, essentially in terms of engineering leaders or the managers. Who is on your team? You have designers. You'll have engineers working with you. Some QA people. QA is essentially quality assurance, folks who will be doing testing. You will have marketing folks. Domain experts is something that is relevant to few industries. Few industries can't function without domain expertise. Example, I think Google, YouTube, these guys might not need domain expertise, but if you're working on a healthcare product, for example, like a app like Headspace, right, you will need domain expertise to build the right product, right? Even if you think about Netflix, right? Netflix is at core driven by content, and as a product manager, it's really important to work closely with with that content person who's the domain expert, and drive the product to the users. Okay. The first bit, right? I want to focus a bit on the first bit, that is vision, right? What essentially you guys will be working on, and how do you set the vision for the users? To set the vision, there are two parts to it. The first one is making sure you understand the market very well. You should be talking to most of the users. That's going to be one of your core responsibilities, that you become a voice of the user, right? You're not the one who's designing the product, but not designing in terms of creating wireframes or making the UI interface, but you are the person who is essentially the voice of the user, essentially someone who says that this is something that will add value to the user, and in that language maybe talk to your designers and the engineers, right? You essentially make sure everyone on your team, all the independent engineers or designers, they understand what the problem we are working on, right? So talking to the users is the most important part. Understanding their pain points, be very aware of the competition and the product strategy for the competitions. How you'll be doing these? You will be conducting surveys, recording customer feedbacks, keeping a log of it, doing usability testing on other platforms, and dogfooding. Dogfooding is a very popular term in the tech industry, where we essentially request you to use your own platform as a user. A lot of product managers who just join us, we request them to use the platform, our own platform, as much as possible, so that they understand what the users are going through, they understand the user pain points, and they themselves become a user. And it's a very important exercise. Almost all the product leaders do across the industry. I think you guys would have heard a lot about stories like Jeff Bezos sitting on the customer support team for a day or so, right? So that's essentially dogfooding, right? Where they are trying to be as close to the users as possible. The next is creating product strategy based on the insights that you have created, right? And this is going to be a very important slide, a very relevant one, because whenever you're doing a product management interview, all the challenges that you will be getting will be usually solved in this framework. When you're given a challenge, right? How do you improve WhatsApp, or how do you improve the content, the number of videos that is viewed on Netflix, right? Any solution that you come with, right, will follow a framework like this, right? Where you start by defining your audience, who essentially is your audience, take a intelligent guess on their pain points, what are the problems they are going through. Based on those problems, define what the product will be doing, what your solution looks like, the core value a user will take from the product. The next is a strategic differentiation, right? Why would someone use your product over any other product out there, right? It's the most common question and the most difficult question. To be very honest, even I have not figured out how to answer a question like this, right? Like creating a moat is really complicated. There are ways people talk about it, but having a short say that the product that I will build will never be replicated is a very hard thing for anyone to say. But yeah, there are few strategies you can focus on, but this is actually a bit complicated, right? The next is GTM strategy. You will not have a successful business if you don't have marketing. Just a good product is not good enough. And when I say GTM is go to market strategy. This is usually led by the marketing folks. You're not creating the marketing strategy here, but you are actually giving them data points to create the marketing strategy. Usually marketing strategy is created after the product is defined well. You will be essentially telling the marketing folks that, hey, this is the user I'm focusing on, these are their pain points, this is my core value proposition, and how I'm different from other products out there. Based on the data points that you give to the marketing folks, they will create a really good marketing strategy. They will set the communication based on that, the communication that will go out in the ads, the emails that are going out, and the user's journey will start there, right? So it's very important to connect the whole journey for a user, like what is essentially told on a on an advertisement, to what is being told on the landing page, to what actually happens on the product, right? It's a full one user journey for a user. So that's about vision, right? That's usually taken care from product leaders, but as you grow in your career, you will start getting there, and you might be expected to work on it. The next thing, I think that's what you will essentially start with, is the core of execution. And the key to getting a really good execution is acing the documentation game. I essentially work with a lot of folks around the globe. Recently we acquired a company called Filma, and we hired few employees from Brazil itself. It was based out of Brazil, and a few of the folks had never spoken English, and the only way for us to communicate with them was through written documentations. Any strategy that we need to give them, it's through a written documentation. We need to give them a brief, it's again a written communication. So it's really important for a product manager to be really good at communication, that you are able to communicate what essentially is required from the person you're working with, and are able to achieve what is the desired goal, right? And this is the first skill you will be learning as you start your product management. I recently hired one product manager from IIT Bombay. He was a fresh graduate. He was working as an APM with us. Before joining, like there was a couple of months time before he joined, the only thing I asked him to work on was the communication and the documentation piece. The rest, all the expertise in terms of setting the vision or how do you think about products, can be learned over a period of time. But the only value that he will be able to add will be to align the team and making sure we are able to ship the right product as soon as possible. Yeah, that's the communication bit. Usually when you communicate, you will touch all the major departments in the company, right? Because you are kind of sitting in the center. You're working with designers, you're working with engineers, you're helping the marketing folks create their marketing strategies. You're working with the support team because you get essentially the feedback back from the support so that you make even a better product, and QAs and operations, right? So one of the key factors is making sure as you keep documenting stuff, you're making sure you're aligning everyone also about, hey, what's coming up, what's the new feature that we are building, right? So if, for example, if you have a new feature that you're building, make sure you talk about that feature with your marketing team, for example, right? So that they can create a really good strategy, so that there's a good adoption of a feature, right? Even if YouTube comes up with a new product, right, a new feature, and there's no marketing done for it, like we as users will never understand that there's a product that is built, and ultimately it will lead to a failure because it was not communicated with the users, right? And that's essentially very important when it comes to making sure a feature that you are building is getting used. To summarize, product management is usually in the center of customer, business and technology. Customers are what you are listening from in terms of what needs to be built. That is essentially your market part. Business is ultimately what you're going to make money out of it, or every organization is here to make money, to be very honest. And it's very important to make sure the product that you're building is also uh, making money out of that, right? There might be different strategies for a few products where uh, you try to focus on engagement, try to give a free product as much as possible, but all those strategies over a period of time will converge to the fact that yes, this product is going to make money in the long run. Okay, the next is like, how does a PM career look like, right? We have spoken about what you will be doing as a product manager, right? Like the next thing is, what do you expect to become after 3 years? What do you expect to become maybe after 6 year, 10 year? What type of work you will be doing, and how your work will also change over a period of time, right? So there's a snapshot from product faculty. They essentially explain this very well. When you start your early product management career, you will be essentially there will be a lot of learning and doing of projects. You will be assigned projects. You will be expected to deliver the projects well within the time frame. But as you keep moving up the ladder, you will be more closely working with the business, setting the vision for the products, and essentially predicting what's going to happen in the market, how the market is going to change, and if you need to quickly adapt to that and move around, right, in terms of the offerings that you're giving. To talk a bit about this in detail, this is how Reforge, I know there's a lot to comprehend, but I'll try to walk slowly through this. If you look at associate product managers and product managers, right, the first column, it talks about uh, being individual contributors. You don't have a team essentially. You are solely working on one particular project, and as you go up the ladder, right, so the roles and the responsibilities keep increasing, right? If you read this part, uh, problem and solution bit, as an APM, you're given a problem, you're given a solution, that this is a problem, this is a solution, we expect you to build out the right solution in this particular time frame. That's how it's going to approach very early in the career. As you move up the ladder, right, if you see product manager, a problem is assigned to you, but you're asked to figure out the solution yourself and get it out. As you keep moving up the ladder, right, you try to see, if you try to see what a VP of product is doing, right, they are trying to figure out the problems and the solution across multiple products. So let me take a very simple example. Google, right? Google has multiple products. You have Maps, you have YouTube, you have Google search, right? So a typical product manager at Google, right, might be working on a very small feature, something as simple as giving smart recommendation when someone is searching on Google Maps, right? That's a particular project in itself. A parallel PM would be working on something like how do you improve uh, navigation during the direction when a user is trying to navigate from one point to other. How do you set different milestones and how do you improve it, right? So you have two product managers working on a particular section. But as you move up the ladder, right, ultimately you will have a VP of product who will essentially be managing the full Google Maps ecosystem. And if you move even up a ladder, you will have a CPO who's actually trying to manage multiple Google products. They'll be managing YouTube, they'll be managing Google Maps, they'll be managing Google search, and so on and so forth, right? So as you move up the ladder, you will try to manage multiple products together. But when you start a career, you will be focusing on very, very simple problems of the whole ecosystem. Yes, I think so. That's how a career looks like. Any questions, guys? I think this is very important to understand because this is what you would expect over a period of time if you get into product management. Okay, so I'll move forward. Okay, so I think we have talked about a lot about okay, what is product management, what does a product manager do, what does a product manager doesn't do, but how do you identify if you're well suited for it, right? What are the core attributes of a good product manager? uh, to start with, you should be smart. Very simple point, but because you're working on so many multiple things together, you're driving the core of the company, right? If I give an analogy, right, if you have a band, the one with the stick, I don't know what it's called, the one who's trying to drive the whole band together, right? You're the one who's sitting you in the middle, trying to drive the all the product, but still you don't have control over anything, right? You don't have a control over how good the designs are going to come, right? But you still need to get a really good design out to the users. You don't know how well the code will be written, how many bugs will come out of it, but you still need to get a product out there in the market as fast as possible with the best experience possible, right? So there are a lot of things to figure out, a lot of new challenges that keep coming. There's no perfect template essentially that you will be following in your product management career. There will be new challenges every day, and you're just expected to be smart and to figure how do you get it done. Uh, Next skill is, which is going to be again very important, as I said, is the execution bit. When you start early in your career, you'll be expected to execute project, get that out to the users as fast as possible. For that, you need the skill to get things done as fast as possible, right? I can't emphasize more. The only thing that you will usually be judged on in a lot of companies being a product manager is, are you able to get it done, right? There will be, you can come back to the product leader or you can come back to the founder saying that, hey, there's a problem with a particular designer, there's a problem with a developer, they are not giving you good quality code written, so that you go out, right? If that communication comes after the project is unsuccessful, that's a really bad sign. It's really important to be able to understand these signs really fast while you're working on a project, and try to communicate that with the relevant stakeholders as fast as possible. Your sole purpose is to making sure that the feature or the product that you are thinking about goes to the users as fast as possible. This, the users don't care if your engineer is not able to give you a good code written, right? Actually, no one cares. Like a business is not going to be successful if you just give out a very basic product to the users, right? The only way to make it successful is getting it done, right? And that's a skill you will learn over a period of time, right? It comes with a lot of experience. But if something like just getting things done excites you, I think this might be a very interesting career for you. A bit about technical skills, essentially uh, having a good product sense. If questions like how is Hotstar and Netflix positioned in the market, how is Amazon and Flipkart positioned in Indian market, these type of questions excite you a lot. You like to read a lot about businesses, how businesses are doing, how they are actually making a product. Then it's again a very interesting area, right? Because as you grow in your product management journey, you will be focusing a lot towards creating those product visions, and these will help you essentially. The successful stories that you read up, that you understand about the market, is going to help you a lot. Technical skill, I think I touched briefly about this a while back, where we spoke about coding. I think understanding of tech stack you're working with is going to be very important. Again, no one is expecting you to write the code, right? But when your job is to get something out in a couple of weeks, you want to provide value to the users as fast as possible, right? Unless you understand the complexity it needs to go through, you might not be able to prioritize the right feature, right? Again, if I take you back to the Airbnb example, right? uh, Users are asking for ratings, reviews, users are asking for photographs, users are asking for filters, right? uh, you take feedback from the users, you prioritize 1 2 3, okay, these are the top 3 things users are looking for, right? But if you kind of try to think from building that, from building a point, building that, filters is something that will take a lot of time to build properly. It's going to be a bit longer project than as simple as adding photos. That's a much faster project, right, to do. And having a bit of these understanding about the technical stack you're working on. For example, it might be much simpler to add photos on a mobile application versus on a web application, because a lot of code for mobile applications is usually native, right? So having these basic understandings will help you prioritize the projects better, will help you get to the users as fast as possible. So hence, like, having a bit of understanding of technical skills will be advantageous for you when you get into product management. Okay, I think we have spoken a lot about what product management is, what does a career look like, what do you do as a product manager. I think let's get into the real thing, what you guys might be very interested. If this all suits you well, then where do you essentially go and look for product management jobs, right? So I think for me, what I've learned from industry, we actually also focus a lot on LinkedIn. That's the most common place where we go to look for product managers, early product managers. Angel will also be very relevant to you guys, because um, a lot of early startups are very active on Angel, and uh, I think when we try to hire for junior roles, especially, we do go for Angel, and LinkedIn is much more for advanced roles, but a lot of product management roles always go on LinkedIn. Insta hire and top hire, I think they're very relevant to actually this audience, because I think I know those companies where they essentially focus a lot on IITians, to be very honest. They'll give preference to you guys and help you get the job faster, but I think they essentially offer much more premium jobs on their side, and it's good to be on these platforms. uh, Crunchbase, again, an interesting place. You can follow for companies which are raising funds, and if a it's very simple, right? If a company has raised fund recently, they're more likely to start their hiring process, and you will be even before they start thinking that, hey, we need a product manager, you will be there in their inbox saying, hi, are you looking for a product manager? And it will just give you an edge, right? Even before they start looking for a product manager, put a JD out there, you will be in the inbox having a conversation either with the founder or one of the product leaders they have. Um, Last is IIM jobs. I think this has worked really well for me early in the career. We also used to hire a lot of developers through this. IIM jobs highest. I think this was very relevant. Not sure if it is relevant right now, but you guys can obviously give it a try. Trying to be very honest here, but I think 1 and 2 should be your way to go to start with. Uh, Next is, I think, content, right? Like, you need to build a credibility. You need to have a decent presence online. Uh, People should be able to trust what they're getting into. A lot of companies are playing very safe in terms of hiring. Uh, I think the consciousness has increased over a period of time. You will have a lot more rounds of interviews. You will be talking to multiple people. You will be doing multiple assignments before you get a job. Because what companies have over a period of time realized is that you don't want to get a bad hire. A bad hire will essentially take down the whole pace of the other people that they're working on, and especially someone like product manager who sits right in the middle. It's a very important hire. So they will be going through a rigorous process, and usually having a good credibility on social media platforms like LinkedIn would help a lot. So this is something, it's not just for getting a job, but over a period of time you should keep an eye on, keep posting about it. If you ask what do you want to post, uh, if you're just starting to learn product management, just post whatever you learned yesterday. It's as simple as that. uh, any news that comes out, uh, Netflix changing their product strategy, just write about it, put your thoughts there. It's just going to work. And yeah, more the interesting conversations, higher the success rate. Like, you will get a lot of pings in your inbox, people looking to hire you. and I've seen a lot of folks doing it really well. I've seen some people even in like third year, fourth year students of different colleges with like 10-15,000 followers, and even when I look at their profile, they have written so much about product management. There's a biases towards it that I think that they might have read something that they are posting, right, and they might know a bit about what they have written, right. So they already get that level of edge, right. Yes, this person might know a bit, and then you take them through the interview process and see how they perform in your assignments or interviews. So I think I spoke about the ideas. I'll take a move on. Next is, I think, really important. I personally feel this is very important. A lot of us actually skip this step, but getting a good mentor is super crucial. Get a long-term mentor. Try to interact with them at least once in a month, or if not, like once a quarter, over a period of your journey. Someone who has been there, done that, and knows the good and the bads about the industry, right. They will You will be able to essentially predict what's going to be your career path, what you are going to face as you move from maybe an APM to a PM role, or from PM to a senior PM role, right. So it will help you a lot, and I personally feel that that's very relevant. They can help you build the right connections. They will make sure that you are doing the right things in terms of what's needed for your career. Last, I think, is you need to have those hard skills and soft skills to be a product manager. Get into a PM school, learn what it takes to be a product manager, learn how to make a product strategy, learn how do you execute a project, uh, learn how to do those assignments which are asked in the product management interviews, right. It's a very standard template. Trust me, like guys, most of us, like, who are trying to hire, even us, we go on Google and try to look for questions or assignments on Google, right. So 90% of the questions, or questions in the interview or the assignments, you'll find it online, and it pays off to be prepared for those things, right. So um, do those challenges, do those mock interviews. I would recommend a good PM school above even courses from colleges like Kellogg's and all. Like, they offer a course online. You will find courses on Coursera, but usually these courses will be like an online course that will be there, but it will not be interactive. You will not have fellows working with you. If you go to a decent enough PM school, I think there are a lot of PM schools, especially in India right now. You will have fellow members. They will have uh, challenges, common challenges among different people. You will be able to evaluate yourself with respect to other people, and you might actually even get a good opportunity to find a really good mentor there. So yeah, I would recommend actually doing a PM school course. Just takes a couple of months for you to do it, but it will add a lot of value. It will help you get a job much faster if you're looking for one. Okay, resume. I think I'll be very brief here. I think I'm pretty sure you guys will have much more detailed conversations about resumes in other lectures. And so, just taking to something that is relevant to us in product management industries. The first thing we go through is your summary. Summary is usually for us the decision making point. We uh, if I put a post on LinkedIn today for hiring a product manager, I'll get 500 entries in first 3 to 4 days, after which I will close the post. And when I have 500 resumes, I'll put some filters. I'll maybe at max go through 100 resumes and not spend more than 3 to 5 minutes per resume, right? And the first thing that I'll usually read in the resume is your summary section. What essentially are you trying to say that you have done? And it's very important to get the summary section right. Keep it short and real. Try to highlight your facts, what you have done. Try to be as much away from big words as possible. Trust us, when we are going through 100 resumes for one position, we have gone through at least 1,000 resumes in our life to understand that what does a good resume look like, who's someone who's trying to fake it, who's someone who has actually done some work. Because if you, even if you fake in your resume, you will get caught in what's going to happen in the interviews, right? The interview process is so rigorous, you're not going to make it through unless you are genuinely doing the right stuff and you genuinely know about what you're applying for, right? So keep it short and stick to the facts. Highlight your top achievement. I think I think you guys would have heard from others. Achievement is one thing that will hook a recruiter, and it will start a conversation with the recruiter usually, right? When you write something like you helped a company grow by XYZ, it's something that is intriguing. You would love to talk to them about how they have done it, and usually that essentially starts a conversation, right? Again, for you folks, it might not be a company, it might be PR that you have taken up, or some sort of a project that you have done at the institute, or some internship. If you have done internship, great, in product management. Talk about if there were any achievements out of your internship, and I think that should go a long way. I think one point I would really like to focus on is hygiene. I think that's very basic. The reason I'm talking about this is it's so important that if we try to skim a resume and we find a spelling mistake, we just leave the resume there. It's a very like a no-go for us, especially in a product management role, because if a company is trusting you, like let's take an example of Airbnb, right? If Airbnb is trusting you to be their product manager, and you are as reckless as creating simple spelling mistakes, they will never be able to give you the authority to ship out anything to the users, right? Because you are shipping to the users on the behalf of the company. You are essentially the voice of the company there, right? And it's completely like a no-go for everyone. So please make sure there are no spelling mistakes in formatting. It's very basic, and even if you don't have good points, that should not be the criteria why you get rejected. Okay, product interview questions. I think this is this is how I put it. Like, this is the most common thing you will find on internet today in terms of product management. Like, when you try to search for what does a product manager do, you will find hundred thousands of definitions. You will, if you find what does it take to be a good product manager, you will find a lot of information. But what is the interview process, what are the questions people are asking, it's actually very straightforward. And if you prepare well, you know what to expect in the interview. There will be only a certain set of questions that a interviewer will be asking you, and you should be able to do well among all of them, right? So let me actually quickly go through some of them. A product sense, I think I spoke about this earlier. You love to talk about businesses, you love to understand how the businesses work. The questions would be generally around how to improve an XYZ product. Or very simple question, right? How do you improve WhatsApp? You have to take the process that we spoke about, the visions process, where you talk about the audience, the pain point, the solution, MVP, what your solution look like, the go-to-market strategy, and the differentiation, right? So it's a very standard process. Make sure you're prepared for all the different scenarios that can come up here. Product basics, again, this will come a lot after doing some courses. How do you prioritize, how do you manage a launch for a particular project? That's going to be a process related, so they are very close by. I think guesstimate, I think it's not just for product management, but Actually, a lot of other roles like consulting, analyst role also require you to be good at guesstimates. So I would definitely recommend you guys to be good at it. Most interviewers expect you to be, you should be able to answer a guesstimate in like five minutes or so. And again, like a very set format. If you, I'm pretty sure if you do 50 guesstimates, you will know how to do a guesstimate, and you will be ready for any guesstimate that comes to you. Uh, Domain knowledge. Uh, if you're applying for a particular company, they will try to understand how well you understand the domain. If you're trying to apply for a fintech, they'll at least try to understand how basics do you know about fintech, right? If you maybe go to cred, right? If cred is looking to come up with a product where they will help users invest in maybe um, stocks, right? So they will ask you more relevant questions around that, and try to understand if you at least are able to grasp some domain, some expertise from the domain, right? And you are able to answer those questions. um, I had a guesstimate here, but I think we will have to skip. I think we are running short on time. We started a bit late. Um, but I think you can take it back. You guys can work on it at your time. Um, when YouTube introduced YouTube Premium, right? What was the expected revenue for YouTube from these users, right? It's a very simple question, very relevant to you being a product manager at any company, be it any organization, right? You come up with an idea, you pitch to your leader, any product leader or even a founder. The first thing they will ask you is, if I build this feature, what will I get, right? How much revenue are we talking about? Because any project that you work on requires an investment from the company. If you say that I need 5 engineers, I need a few designers to work on this project for a couple of months, that essentially means there are two costs available. One is the cost of paying those engineers and the developers, paying those developers and the designers, and the other is the cost to the company of time, right? You could have been working on a different project, but you chose this particular project, right? So it's very important for you to be really good at estimating what's the impact of a project, and there's no better way to do that by getting good at guesstimates. So just go online, search for guesstimates. I'm pretty sure you'll find thousands and thousands of guesstimate, and it will give you a good framework how do you solve guesstimates. And the most important thing is to show the structure of how you're thinking about it, not about the final answer. It's really not about that, but it's about the structure that you follow. Okay. Um, so I think this is kind of a summarizing what we discussed in the interview questions. Most of the interview questions that we have gone through are essentially going to are connected with the essential attributes for a PM, right? They will try to gauge if you're the right fit for the company, if you're right fit for the product, right? You have product sense, they will ask you product sense related questions. So again, as I said, right, this is the most structured thing that is out there, and very easy for anyone to master it. It's very easy to master that process of product management interview, doing those assignments, right? So it's all about practice. I would just recommend you guys to get there and practice it a lot. Be prepared with your stories. You should have stories for all the projects that you have done. Very common stories. There's a proper frame. There are frameworks available here. What did you do good in your project? What did you do bad in your project? What was the best achievement? Was there any problem in the project? How did you tackle it? How did you communicate your project with your with relevant stakeholders? There are a number of questions here, right? And you should be ready with answers for all of them before your interview. And there's a very proper framework for this, a SAR framework. It talks about you describing the situation, what exactly was the problem there, and the actions that you took, and what was the final result, right? It's a very standard framework, and I would request you guys to make sure you're ready with all the answers in your resume. I think this is something a lot of us skip. We think that, hey, I can answer anything in that project, whatever I did, I know I worked really hard during that, right? But it might get tricky when a very simple question is asked and you're not prepared for it. These are the top two books I'll recommend. Obviously, there are tons of books available in the market, but these two books, in my opinion, are must read for any product manager, any aspiring product manager. This Cracking the PM Interview by Gail McDonald's, very interesting book. This another Lewis Lynn, Product Manager Interview. This is a book that essentially has like around 150 questions straight up there. Questions as simple as how will you go around and improving WhatsApp, or guesstimate questions, all the categories that we spoke about, right? Those technical questions, product sense questions, or guesstimate, process related questions. They have at least 10 questions on each one of them. So the book usually says that they recommend you to go through it, go over it for a couple of months. They actually also give you a proper calendar along with it. So I would highly recommend you guys to actually go through both of the books. Will help you guys a long way in terms of preparing for the examination, for the interview. And very important again, don't spam for 100 countries, 100 interviews. That never works, right? People are looking for very relevant folks out there. So make sure the cover letter you're making, right, please never use a template. It's never going to work if you write 20 lines of what you have been doing, which is not at all relevant to the job we are offering. No one is going to ever read it. Even 5 lines, which essentially tells about you, why you're relevant for the job, should just do the trick, should just get your conversation started. So focus on few companies, but do a good job at it. And know the company you're applying, right? This is again taking you back to predicting the interview, right? The better you predict your interviews, the better of your chances of making it a success. You will know what to expect during the interview. You should know before you get into the company interview. You should know that, okay, these are the problems that the company is facing, these are the products that the company is trying to work on, and what can I expect in the questions that will come to me, and even the assignments, right? They will also be focused towards that. Summarizing, I think job hunting makes you smart. You will work on a lot of factors. You will actually learn some new skills altogether. So do enjoy the process. Don't start applying for product management unless you've spoken to 8 to 10 good product managers out there in the market. It's actually true for any other role also. Don't start consulting unless you have spoken to at least 8 to 10 consultant, right? Make sure you value your time, the time that you will spend working on a particular domain for next couple of years. Be sure this is the right domain for you, right? And it's really okay over a period of time that you might say that, hey, this is not right for me, I need to move on. But try to get as close as what you're good at as early as possible. I think that will help you optimize for time. The amount of time it takes for you to become a product leader, an average time might be 10 years, but if you hit it right in the one go, then you might be able to reach it maybe in like 7 to 8 years. Keep your resume short and filled with facts again. Sorry. Build credibility again. Write on LinkedIn, just trying to summarize the most important points, I think, so that you guys don't miss it. Know what to expect in your interview. Again, I think I've focused on this a lot. It's very predictable to just know what's going to come in your interview. Just be prepared. As simple as that. That's pretty much it from me, guys. Any questions? Anyone? Yeah. So, I think See, I didn't know, to be very honest, back in 2015, product management was not the same thing it is today, right? I think it is much more clearer to a lot of folks. And to be very honest, I never knew what product management is. Uh, I just knew that I liked uh, working on business problems. I never knew that is it strategizing, is it marketing, it is product. I never knew it, right? Unless I started a job that time. Obviously, I spoke to a few folks around who were product managers, who were in operations, right? Um, but I never understood, right? But when I actually got into product management, that's where I realized that, hey, this is something that works for me. So for me, to be very honest, as a product manager, I am very much domain independent because my processes, what I work through, are going to work for any company that is out there. If I'm working for healthcare or I'm working for fintech, obviously there is some learning that you will have from your domain. And this is one thing that I've also learned, that if you try to go for more leadership positions, having the domain experience is very, very important, right? For example, if you want to become a VP of product at a fintech company, it pays off if you were a product manager at a fintech company. It will be much easier, right? So yes, you can choose the domains also, but I think pretty much like 90% of the work that you will be doing will be independent of the domain. And wherever you need a domain expertise, you will have that domain expert also with you. Mm, well, to be very honest, when I look at hiring, um, I do keep a cutoff, right? Because it essentially tells me a bit about hygiene in terms of, uh, like I've been here, right? I know I'm from chemical engineer, right? I had no interest in chemical engineering, to be very honest, right? But a basic cutoff is, I think, is what we are looking for, not a very high one. We are not looking for eights and nines. Like even something as simple as seven should be good enough. But that's again like my complete opinion. But as long as you're able to get the job done, no one will ever ask you for the CPI again.